Hi, welcome to my van build. A little bit late to this party probably, but it was something I always wanted to do, maybe for retirement. This is 2024, and since 2020 accommodation has just got so expensive, it has literally trebled. When I used to have the caravan, it was about maybe taking the kids away and doing the caravanning. So that would be, going to places, visiting, just being somewhere on holiday. I think now I do more when I go away. I want to do more, so I got into paddleboarding, cycling quite a lot, mountain biking, and quite recently sailing. I suppose the other thing is, with the accommodation thing, with a caravan you have to go to a base sort of thing, and it is becoming so much more the norm that you can just go places in a camper van. The idea of this vehicle for me is that it can carry all the stuff that I need to go on my trip, which doesn't hinder the living space. It needs to be self-sufficient, it needs to be able to tow my boat, it needs to have a nice bed, a shower and a toilet. Like everybody else, I started looking for vans. It's quite a daunting task, and there's lots of things that you find out when you start building the van that you could never have known in those early days. And I think some vans lend themselves better for converting than others, but then I think that obviously they command a higher market value. This is a Vauxhall Movano, which is the same as a Renault Master. Very well respected engines, 2.3 diesel, which varies in horsepower from 100 to I think 170. This one's 125 brake horsepower, which drives absolutely fine, drives really well. But obviously I've only really driven it empty. Very easy to get tuned though. I could probably remap this to 150, but we'll see how we go. I'm not going to go through a step-by-step build on this van because there are literally hundreds of YouTube videos about building vans. What I've found building a van is it's very, very personalised. Also comes down to your capability. And I have to say that pretty much everything I've done up to now, and I've been going for quite a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, but everything, and I mean everything, needs to be thought out. You have to literally design everything that you do. How you're gonna fit things, how you're gonna hold things, what materials are you gonna choose, how are you gonna do things, how are you gonna get this from here, and etc. And everything from what screws that you choose to what shower tray that you choose, what mattress you choose, everything, every single thing about doing this build is a very personal choice, and then it comes down to what you are capable of. I've got a vision in my head of what this van is going to look like when it's finished. How close I get to that vision, I don't know, because I've just been doing some measurements this morning for where my shower tray is going to end up, potentially where my kitchen is going to be, and so therefore how much room I've got down the middle here, and it's not looking like there's a lot. The one key thing to remember on this van build is this van is going to be somewhere where you can come to after a day's sailing or paddleboarding or cycling or visiting, and it's somewhere you can come to that has got the basic facilities in that you need and that can be comfortable, and that's what I'm going to try and make it. So insulation and vapor barriers and you will find a never-ending discussion on the internet regarding this. I'm not going to spend many minutes discussing this. You have to think about, again, what are your requirements, what are your capabilities. I've had 30 years of caravanning, and in my opinion, caravans and motorhomes don't have vapor barriers. Manufacturers of vehicles that cost hundreds of thousands even don't have vapor barriers. but here's my opinion. I didn't think that I would be capable of producing a vapor barrier to completely seal this van. Why bother making one when where there are gaps, moisture can get in, and that moisture might be more concentrated? This van has got really good drains, sill drains down the side of the van, and I'm using an insulation which is not affected by moisture. This is the recycled stuff which you can get from B&Q, but there's a company called Celtic Sustainables and it is cheaper from them. So the other thing about a vapor barrier, you can completely seal this van space. You can make you can spend hours making a really good vapor barrier. But what you can't get away from is if you are going to produce moisture whilst you're living in this van, when I say living, might just be for a weekend, but you are going to produce an amount of moisture from cooking, from washing, from sleeping, etc., from breathing. If you create an amazing vapor barrier within the van living space, what about the cab? Nothing in that cab is insulated really. That's where all the electronics are for the vehicle. It's where all the fuses are. It's where a lot of gear is that runs the van. So all this moisture that's created in here can't get to the outer wall. It's got to go somewhere. Moisture will go to the coldest spot. It will find an area that is cold, and it will condense in that area. In this build, it is my intention to rely on airflow and ventilation. In the future, I may fit windows in the back doors, but I haven't just now, because a lot of it comes down to cost, because you know this is a build from scratch. But the windows, these windows are really good. These can be secured on what I call a night latch, so they're cracked open, so at night you can have them cracked open. And also you can have this cracked open on different settings. There's going to be another vent here in the shower room. Again, that can be ventilated, and there is going to be a pipe from the truma into the shower room. So installation, what have I done? So this is the 6mm closed cell foam. This is basically it. So it's a sticky back closed cell foam. Apparently condensation doesn't really form on it. 6mm is just thick enough to create that barrier, that temperature difference barrier. It's still going to be difficult to stop condensation, maybe on some of these beams, because they're connected to the outside of the van. However, I am going to put some of this Reflectix in, and I was debating whether or not to fit that at first, and the main reason that I've decided to is for the purposes of radiated heat. Heat travels in different ways: convection, conduction and radiation. There are many different ways of trying to stop heat going in or out the van. So the Reflectix is going to be probably more in the position that I'm putting it, in keeping heat out the van when it is red hot. You need a space gap in front of the effective area of Reflectix, and in these walls I'm going to have that. So when I put Reflectix on here, there will be a gap from there. I've only put 50mm in of this stuff, but it does fluff up. 100mm would have been too thick. So we've got the closed cell foam on there, on all the bare areas of the van, as anywhere where you can get it. So it's everywhere. So it's down there, it's up there. Then on top of that, I stick the recycled 50mm insulation. Over that loosely is going Reflectix, and then my plywood board that will be carpeted. So the ceiling in this van, which is the same as a Renault Master, remember, I have tried to make the most effective use of the space, so I'm not forming a battened wall in front of this to give me the maximum width of the van. So all that's going on here is 6mm ply carpeted. And then the ceiling, again, I did not want to form wood on top of these to lower the height. So these battens are screwed on the sides, and that actually gives me a straight ceiling all the way down there, right to the back of the van, to here. Morning. It's a cold morning in the workshop. There's a little tip for you. Depending, what plywood you're using in your wall, but also what we tend to do with vans is you put battening in the sides of your van. The problem is when you're preparing a panel, and quite a large panel. This panel I'm doing is for the upper right hand side rear of my van. I've done another panel further to the front, and what I tried doing with that one was sort of drawing on the panel and then fitting it and putting the screws in, then carpeting it, and then trying to get the screws in back through the carpet through the hole in the wood. And it kind of did work, but it's a lot of fiddling about. So first of all, make a plan of your wall. So this is basically a picture of a drawing of the rear right hand side of my van, and it's got where all the metal beams are. So that one across there, that one across there, and that one down there is a metal beam, and measure them from a datum point so that you know where they are. And it's a good idea to keep these drawings as well if you ever need them in the future. And I've measured from both this side for a couple of measurements and from this side. Also, as I'll show you in a minute, I've put battening in, has a metal beam there, and that one is there. I've not put any battening in this lower part because I don't really need any. But above this beam here, I've got a beam there. I've got some wooden bat there, I've got some wooden bat there, and I've got some wooden bat here. What you do is transfer those measurements onto your carpeted panel, and I've just laid masking tape. The masking tape is not far off actually the width of my battening. I have also got another wood batten down here, but I kind of know where that is. So basically just put your screws through there. This is my bump out, by the way, just while I've got this on the workbench. The bump out is just to give you a bit of extra width on the bed. I'm going to fit a contrasting colour in here. So as I was talking about, these are the battens that I've fitted in the van. This one here I've put on this side because that will help to support the kitchen. I will be able to use it in the garage at this end as well. I haven't put the same in this side. This panel is getting towards being finished. I am just using it as a radiant heat barrier. I'm not using it as vapor barrier. So this can be loose behind this panel, and it will do its job as a radiant barrier. This has all got to be insulated yet, and I think this is a more difficult van to build because it just isn't square anywhere. This isn't square up to here, this isn't square up to here, and then you've got to get from here to here. So it's the last bit of bare van that is going to be visible just now. So I'm going to insulate that with this closed cell foam, and then this stuff's going over the top and reflectics over that. I've just installed this micro hecky. Really pleased with those actually. Really pleased with how they go in. These roofs are probably the worst roofs that you can try and install them because there are just so many levels, and what you have to do on top is build it up with this UPVC. So just use the UPVC strips to build up the copper. So this is sound deadening, you don't need a lot. Closed cell foam does a pretty good job of sound deadening. cover this last piece of bare van up just now because I've been waiting to do that. So there's different stages of the van really. I've even got a bit of carpeting done and finished around a window. I've got some blue button caps for these. Showers go in here. My truma is going there. It's currently there. This is the last time the van will be this empty, so I put the lino in today. This lino is from JL Flooring. I think it's what Greg Virgo used. It is very tough, but this was £7 a square metre. I'm doing a different colour for the garage. This is called copper. It's incredibly hard wearing. It's really tough. The blue, again, is hard wearing. It's got like a crinkle surface, a little bit of sparkle in it. I need to start fixing furniture in place. Concentrate on the shower, which is going to be the hardest bit. They're the IKEA brackets for the bed supports. So yeah, so that's just where I'm up to.